Salutations, friends. It is I, said Stevie, and today's topic at hand, as indicated by the thumbnail that you clicked on, is budget versus premium. I have in front of me the Asher Knives Douglas and the Christensen Knife Works Maverick S. This is a half cocked idea that's been kicking around my noggin for the last couple weeks as I was going through my knife cases, trying to decide how I'm going to thin the herd, what's going to stay, what's going to go, what am I going to hold on to versus what am I going to try to sell off and fund other knives for 2023. Um, I came across the Asher Douglas and the CK Maverick, and I started realizing that there's a lot of similarities between these two. Yet they are on polar opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of pricing. Now, I'm using the term budget. Budget is a relative term that's going to mean something a little bit different for everybody. What I consider budget, maybe you don't consider budget. There are people out there I know that say budget means $20 or less. There's people that say, no, it's $50. No, it's $100. Well, for today's example, we're going to be talking this is budget, this is premium. I'm also talking about brand new retail prices, not secondary. Maybe you can get them cheaper. Maybe it's going to cost you a little bit more. These are also both, I think, currently unavailable. Only on the secondary is where you can grab these. Maybe they'll be in stock again soon. I don't know. But the Asher Douglas goes for $106 brand new. The Christensen Knife Works in this configuration goes for $380. That's a big difference. Yet there's still a lot of similarities. So what are you getting with these prices? Now, in terms of technical specs, yes, there's going to be different blade lengths, different blade thicknesses, different handle lengths, different handle thicknesses again, weight. I'm taking the technical specs out of it. I'm going to be talking about the exact similarities and the fact that these are both liner lock knives, right? Thumb stud for deployment, and they have micarta for the handle scale material. Extremely similar in that world, right? Blade shape's obviously a little bit different, but one has a stone-washed S35 VN blade. The other has a hollow ground M390 blade. So you're getting more of a budget steel versus a super steel on one. One has all steel hardware, including the liner and the pocket clip. You do get a titanium backspacer on this one, but the other has Zerk in titanium as the hardware. Zerk thumb stud, Zerk pivot collar, titanium hardware, Zerk backspacer, Zerk pocket clip. But both are writing on bearings. Again, both liner locks. Both have really snappy action detents that you can middle finger flick. Drop to the nail. That one falls shut on its own. The Maverick, drop to the nail, little shake shut, and it's home. So very similar action on the two. But again, $106 versus $380. So where some of this discussion is going to go is sparked from comments that I get in my comments section when I show off a knife like the Maverick S. You know, people will say things like, "Oh man, it must be nice to afford that," or I wish I could afford that out of my price range. Um, First off, I want to let you know that I don't buy knives to flex on people at all. That is not who I am. If I have something nice and expensive or premium, it's because that's just a purchase decision I made, and that's what made me happy in that decision. But again, I live in both ends of the spectrum. Again, these are both in my collection. And this can go, so a little detour here. This can apply to just about anything. I guess in the EDC world, we can talk. Here's a pen that I stole from a desk, a free pen, from a hotel that I stayed in. It writes just fine. Here is a pen that I paid over $100 for. Bolt action titanium tactile turn pen. Plastic, titanium, lots of refinement going into this. You can understand why this is going to cost $100 versus this one is just a cheap one that they give away. Um, Here's a $20 bit driver that works just fine. Here's a titanium bit driver uh, that has some frills and gimmicks to it, but it works the same. There are people that are going to drive a Audi versus people that are going to drive a Kia. I don't know if those are two good examples. I'm not a car guy. Either way, you get my point. There's some people that are attracted to budget options. There's some people that are attracted to premium options. And why is that? I don't know. Maybe you just have a taste for expensive things. Maybe you don't. It's all going to be up to you. But I feel that in our community, there's a lot of keeping up with the Joneses mentality. And this is the hot, flashy knife of the week, and people wish they could have it versus the Asher Douglas. When SKL rolls around and everyone's tossing out what they uh, carried, maybe you think it's cooler to say that you carried a Maverick S versus an Asher Douglas. I don't know. Know that, in my opinion, I don't judge you on what's or what's not in your pocket. I judge you for many other reasons. Uh, but my mentality is not, I only get this type of stuff to make me cool. This is, I can afford it. I'm, again, lucky enough. This is not a flex. This is not a bragging. I'm lucky to be able to afford a knife like this. Um, but back to the comparison of the two. Um, don't feel bad if you can't pick up the Maverick S because, in all honesty, you are getting a lot of the exact same features. And at the end of the day, if all you're trying to do is have a cutting tool, well, then you're going to do just fine with the Douglas as opposed to the Maverick S. You're going to save yourself $274. Now, are there some people that are going to make the case that a hollow ground blade is more slicey than a flat grind? Sure. But I think for most of us, that's not really going to come into a play. Come into play. But yeah, definitely. Again, everything about this knife is great. Um, I'd say of all things that are equal on this knife, outside of like the action, the micarta. This is not any more of a premium micarta than this is. They feel exactly the same in hand. I'd say that both have really good knockdown edges. So handle scales are completely equal. To step up, you start getting things that take a little bit more time to do, which is going to add to cost, and you're getting more premium materials. M390 is going to cost you more than S35 VN. Zirc and titanium is going to cost you more than steel, right? So, of course, there's going to be some. This knife is going to cost more than this one. An Audi is going to cost more than a Kia for all the premium options. This pen, this tactile turn, costs more than this pen for a reason, right? Um, this is going to cost more than this for a reason. Does it make it better? I don't know. That's I'm not here to say if one is necessarily better than the other in terms of budget versus premium. It's what are you into? And again, I want to say most of the channels and the people in the community that I align with, again, we don't care what you are carrying in the sense of value. If the Asher Douglas puts a big old smile on your face when you carry it, awesome. If the Maverick S brings a big old smile to your face when you carry it, awesome. None of us are thumbing our nose at one another. I think there's a crowd of people that are definitely like that, but that's going to transfer over to any community, from any community, absolutely. I started what led me into the EDC community was the firearms community, and you got the, everyone, talking about the poors, the poor people that can only afford a Palmetto State armory rifle versus a Daniel Defense all tricked out, and there's people that, oh, you can only afford a Taurus pistol as opposed to a Glock or something like that, so you're gonna have snobs in every world. I think it's less prominent in our community, which is one of the things I like about our community. But again, I think that a lot of people want to try to flex on fools, right? Again, when I use SKL as the example, because you see both ends of the spectrum, um, uh, in the budget to premium when people are calling out their carries. And then you got some channels that, like, when the Maverick S comes out, everyone's hyping up this knife and everyone thinks they need to get it, and you want to be able to say you got it. Uh, I got these knives for two different reasons, truth be told. I was in a pass around when the prototype was going around, and I handled it and was just like, boom, this knife is great. One of the best thumb stud action knives I've handled. Um, and then I heard everyone talking about how wonderful the Maverick S was, and I wasn't convinced. I wanted to check it out. Things seemed like I might like it, so let's see what everybody's talking about. Is it worth the hype? It is. It is worth the hype. This is a fabulous knife. I love the Zerk accents on it. I like the hollow grind. I like that belt satin on there. I like the, um, again, the more premium materials of this knife. I think that this is a badass knife. But when it comes down to it, this is a badass knife too. And I don't care if this knife was, if this knife had 14C as the steel, and had G10, I would probably like this knife just as much. Um, that being said, also, if this knife was an S35 VN and didn't have Zerk, I'd like it just as much as well. So, where am I going with all this? A couple of ways, again. One, to the people out there that think that, man, I'm probably missing out. Sorry, bus driving by. To the people that are like, oh man, I feel like I'm missing out because I can't afford something like that, and I can only afford the Douglas. You're not. You're not. Um, sure, again, driving a Kia versus driving a BMW, it feels cool, right? Oh man, I got to, drive a BMW. There's something cool about handling a premium anything. Um, but at the end of the day, if this is in your budget, you're not going to be sorry. This is a fabulous knife. So I'm definitely rambling here, and I wish I had um, more contained thoughts, so to speak. But again, I live in both ends of the spectrum. I don't mind a budget knife. Sometimes I prefer it. Uh, Sometimes I like a premium knife, and I prefer it. I guess in other worlds, you know, what else do I? Shit, right in front of me, my watch. This is a $12.99 Amazon cheap overseas knife that's clearly dirty as hell. That has been beat to shit. And as I'm looking at it now, I'm also realizing is cracked and broken. And I don't care. I'm just noticing that, by the way. Surprised I didn't. That must have just happened. I did drop this, actually. I didn't notice it broke, but I do I work in a world where people always have expensive watches, and people look at my watch, and I know I get sometimes they don't even ask. They know this is a cheap watch, but this watch does everything I need. Look, it tells the date and it tells the time. That's all I need it to do. So I don't care about having an expensive watch. But there's something cool about having an expensive watch, but they still do the same thing. I guess more than anything is be happy with whatever you can afford. That's the most important thing. Don't worry about what others think about you. Um, I'm not trying to turn this into life lessons. I'm the last person you should listen to. I'm a fucking knucklehead. So take what I say into a grain of salt. Into a grain of salt? With a grain of salt. Grain of a salt? Grain of. Man, I don't know. I'm definitely rambling at this point. So I guess to bring it back to the Asher Douglas and the CK Maverick. I decided that one has to go. And it didn't take me that long, and I was surprised by it. But Deuces Maverick S, I've enjoyed owning you for the last 5-ish, 6 months. I actually did not pay full price for this. I got a pretty decent deal on the secondary. But toodaloo, and what up, Dougie Fresh? You my boy. You sticking around. I do actually like the Douglas more than the CK Maverick S. This is my choice. Um, I love everything about this knife. It checks all the same boxes, just different, lesser materials. So I decided, before I even made this video, I knew which one I was going with. And it's definitely Dougie Fresh. Uh, it's also because, um, so after saying all that, I just bought this $565 knife, and I needed something that I could help fund that with. So, um, this is going to be a large part of the funding for the Mac 2 that I just got. Phenomenal knife. So there you go, folks. In this instance, the Asher Knives Douglas, aka the Dougie Fresh, is what's sticking around, not the Maverick S. So again, take that for what it's worth. I hope this video made sense. I don't know if it did, but that's what you get with me. Sometimes it makes sense. No, Most of the time, I don't make sense. I confuse the shit out of myself, so I can only imagine what other people think about me. But what did I miss something in this whole discussion? Again, I am not judging. There's people that I know. Real quick, I guess I want to backtrack a little bit. That they gravitate towards expensive stuff, and they're just not interested in a lesser product. And there's nothing wrong with that either. There's really not. Again, let's judge people for if they're an asshole or not what their knife buying habits are. Okay? That's my message to the community. And yeah, but I'd love to know what your guys' thoughts are on the subject. Yeah, that's all I got for you folks. Appreciate you tuning in. Please, if you can, like the video. You can subscribe right here. And whatever that video is, you can check that one out as well. And until the next one, I bid you mofos adeuces.